Hello. To quote the great 20th century philosophers, Herman's Hermits, I woke up this morning feeling fine until I checked my weather notifications. Well, it looks like Chicago is under one of those Arizona-esque excessive heat warnings, which means that Notify Chicago sends me a lot of text that I have to read through. Basically, the major detail from this is that the heat index is expected to get up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And honestly, I'm already sensing an abnormal amount of mugginess in the bedroom, which is definitely why there are sweat stains on my t-shirt. It's so muggy that I can't see out of my own window. Is that a raccoon? Oh, it's Arthur. Right. Coming in, mate. Coming in. It's a hot one. You're a hot dog. Just did a video about hot dogs. You don't care. Look at that. It's all wiping off. That's not dirt on the window. Not entirely dirt, anyway. Turns out it's not just our storm doors, but all of our windows. Arthur, go get me a rag. Instead, he decided he wanted to go for a walk, which is probably a good thing, because believe it or not, right now it's only 85 degrees because we're still in the morning. Nonetheless, given that he is a black puppy, it's probably best to keep him in the shade and away from the sunlight, which travels 92 million miles for him specifically. At this point, I told Arthur word for word that we might want to consider heading back since hydrational complications can arise from a lack of H2O. After nodding, he ran, excited by the prospect of water but flummoxed by his sudden grasp of complex English. That's it, puppy. Walk nice and slowly in the shade. We're almost home. We'll get you that water in just a second. Can't believe I'm saying this, but even the door handles are wet. Oh, that's weird. Let's go. Alright, puppy, get that water, mate. Get that water. Good doggy. You're going to need a lot of that today. And in about 3 seconds, he's going to lie down on the floor to cool off. I know you. I can read you like a book. And one book that I've read this year from cover to cover is the manual to my AC unit. I'm kidding, I never read the manuals. But during intense heat, AC is your best friend. Except for your puppy, of course, he's the reason those cushions are there. Oh no! Last year, when the all-time British temperature record was broken in a village just 37 miles from my hometown, I kept observing the same comments on social media.
Mate, it should be illegal to sweat this much while watching EastEnders in just my underpants.
I too experienced the odd, sometimes very odd heat wave in Britain. Without air conditioning, or aircon as we sometimes call it back home, the chances of a good night's sleep are about as low as an English doorframe from the past. But here in the present, I find myself facing the reality of a Midwestern heat wave. And now that it's the early afternoon, the temperature is rapidly approaching 100 degrees. So how does it feel indoors? Well, the quick answer is it feels like it's 67 degrees because that's what the AC is set to. The long answer is that there are some caveats that involve me going upstairs. Up here, as I alluded to at the start of the video, it does feel muggier than normal, and there are a couple of reasons for this. Firstly, heat rises. And secondly, the warmer the outside temperature, the harder the AC has to work to keep the house cool. And apparently our AC has been slacking off on the job and needs to be fired. Well, we've now reached the heat of the day, and looking at the temperature online, it says that it is around 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but that doesn't tell the entire story. In fact, those notifications from this morning completely and utterly a little bit lied. Because whereas the heat index was supposed to be a paltry 110 degrees, it in fact reached 114. And of course, that's just Chicago. In the south and southwest, such a heat index is just another Tuesday. But I digress. And so, being a YouTube sensation, I didn't want to waste this opportunity to capitalise on the weather. So I'm going to do a quick fun activity, which hopefully doesn't involve me spinning around like this. Can I stop? Thank you. In which I do that thing where you take some hot water, throw it in the air and see if it freezes on the way down. That's the winter version, isn't it? Just let's do the reverse of that and take an ice ball and stick it in a cup and see how long it takes to melt. Well, that was pretty impressive, and I have to say, I think this is the hottest day that I've ever experienced in the history of my own history. Because while I've experienced temperatures of 100 degrees or more here in the United States, I don't think I've ever been heat indexed quite as much as this. Thankfully, there is quite a strong wind, which helps to cool you down in intermittent spurts. But aside from that, it's not too far removed from hell. I have never found it harder to breathe. I've often said that America is a nation of extremes, and in this case it has to do with humid heat and dry heat. Because I think the one time that I experienced heat that was close to this was when I was in Salt Lake City climbing up a mountain. But there, while I was sweating my arse off, I could at least breathe until I got stung by a bee and dropped my camera. But here, on my flat Illinoisan back garden, just walking at snail's pace, I'm already sweating buckets. I've been outside for 10 minutes. So since I haven't had a chance to get a suntan this year, I think I might just get a towel and lay out right here on the grass. Or do the alternative. Well, on the one hand, we're here in the early evening, so the sun's going down, doesn't feel quite as hot, and we're next to a really huge lake. That said, I could have been at home right now, instead of getting covered in sand and seagull shit.
Look at them, they're right up close.
But now it's the next morning, and the current temperature calls to mind an expression of which Americans are often fond. If you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes, or in this case, 12 hours. Because bizarrely, Chicago today feels more like Seattle than Phoenix, with temperatures more akin to fall than summer. And all I've got to show for the hellscape that was yesterday is a barely noticeable tan, one fewer ice ball, and sand in every crevice imaginable. Turns out Anakin was right about all of it. That said, at least we've returned to temperatures more fit for humans, not to mention black puppies. Come on, mate. That's it for this episode. Let me know in the comments your heatwave stories from this summer. I'm Lawrence Brown. You can follow me on Twitter and or Threads, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that I don't have to. And as always, a big thank you to my ponderers who make these videos possible. They even paid for the sun. If you would like to become a ponderer and gain access to my secret live stream as well as my secret video series, Diary of a YouTube Sensation, you can do so today at patreon.com/lostinthepond or by clicking the join button below. Until the next video, goodbye.